This might be the most complete scene I've built without starting from zero. In this video, I'm breaking down how I built this scene in Blender using assets from CGTrader. A big thank you to CGTrader for sponsoring this video. I'll show you exactly how I assembled everything, from terrain sculpting all the way through to post-production. Before getting into the build, here is a quick look at what I used. 4 assets from CGTrader, a rock pack with 15 different rock assets, a vegetation pack with 38 different assets, a mushroom pack, and a mountain climber character. One thing worth highlighting about the vegetation pack, relief and blades of grass are season shader built in, so you can switch between seasons directly in Blender on any element of the pack. Here I'm showing it on one of the hero trees, but it works across the entire library. That's kind of the flexibility that actually changes how you work. The first step was sculpting the terrain. The goal was to create a natural base that would work well for both the vegetation and the character placement. I sculpted some sort of a hill where I can put my hero tree, but that will be the main subject of the scene. So I started as well creating a river where I put my water shader on it. So once the shape was pretty much done, I set up the texturing. So I used 2 different materials that I mixed together. And then in the Vertex paint mode, I directly paint onto the mesh. So the blue for the grass areas and the red for the gravel path. Simple and non-destructive. Next, I placed my hero tree at the center of my scene. So on top of this little hero, and just wanted to tweak a bit the leaf shader here to get something more towards the yellow-green tones. And then I started placing all the rocks around this tree, so just wanted to have the roots on top of some of the rocks. And then I keep on placing all these rocks around the tree. And then I duplicated some bunch of this rock formation here, duplicated them and placing them around my scene, so you have some sort of cave around our trees here, and to get some interesting lightings. And I keep placing some rocks here and there around the tree, around my scene, around the stairs. For that, it was time to place my rocks around my river to add even more details to my scene. I also like to add some god rays to my scene, so these god rays are not real. I just faked these god rays with a simple shader with an emission BSDF into my volume, and then I mix 2 noises together to fake those god rays. Next thing is going to be the placement of my waterfall. So these waterfall have been created on a previous project and they are made procedurally inside the shader editor. Now I'm starting to create my vegetation system. So I'm using the secret paint add-on that allows me to paint all the vegetation that I need on my ground. So you simply select the element that you want to scatter on a surface, and you have to simply paint it on the surface that you want. So here, as you can see, I'm starting with the moss assets, and then I'm gonna repeat the same process with all the vegetation assets. So next is gonna be the grass, and then the flowers, and then the bushes, and then to finally finish with all the trees. And so I like to start with the smallest assets like the moss, and finished with the big element like the trees. And you can also see that I'm putting my branches and trunk here and there on my scene to even add more details to it. And then with the same method as before as my vegetation system, I'm scattering these mushroom assets that are from CGTrader. And then the final thing that I will do inside Blender will be to work on our character. So as this character doesn't come with a rig, I've put it inside Mixamo so I can rig it and added some animation to it. So I'm just gonna go with a basic walk animation. Once my character is in Blender, I loop the animation until it reaches its full length. In this case, 240 frames. That to make the character move forward, I parent my character to an empty object, set up a keyframe at frame 0, move the character forward along the y-axis, and set up a keyframe at the frame 240. Now I just need to add my character to the scene and adjust its walking animation to fit the scene. Now it's time for post-processing. I check that everything looks good and reassemble the video using my color path, ambient occlusion, and volume. I also use denoiser that cleans up a bit the results. So the DaVinci Resolve denoiser is pretty powerful and I use it all the time on every project that I do. From there, I run the footage through Topaz Video AI to upscale it to 4K at 30 FPS. Sharper output, lower render times. And then we are back in DaVinci Resolve. I create a new project in 4K 30 FPS and then I'm gonna add some effects to it. So I'm gonna add the sharpen, the film grain, and the light raise effect, and then do the color grading, adding more blues and green here and there, some highlights, some contrast, stuff like that. And here is the final result. Using assets from CGTrader cut the build time significantly. It let me focus on what actually makes the scene works: composition, lighting, and post. All the asset links are in the description. Thanks for watching.